The trade hub of Barren Station was never quiet. It floated between three suns, connected to dozens of travel routes, and every day it welcomed thousands of travelers from hundreds of worlds. The main marketplace stretched across a glass-domed hall, so large that a human could walk for an hour and still not see every stall. Lights blinked in every color. The air carried scents both sweet and sharp, roasted spices from corral stalls, oily smoke from mechanical shops, and the salty tang of ocean vapor tanks brought in by aquatic traders. Every species had its corner here. Tall, blue-keeled Azari sold shimmering fabrics. The tiny rock-skinned Grovaks scuttled around their piles of rare minerals. Loud Bargov merchants argued over prices in a language that sounded like clanging pots. It was the kind of place where no single sound could stand out. At least that was true until it happened. Aaron Hale was standing near a stall that sold steaming mugs of dark brew coffee, one of the few human drinks Barren Station carried, when he heard it. The sound cut through the market noise like a beam of light through fog, a cry, high, sharp, and yet different. It wasn't the cry of pain or hunger Aaron knew from human children. It had a strange vibration, a trembling resonance that almost hummed in the bones. He froze. Others froze too. Heads turned. Tentacles stilled. Even the Bargov merchant stopped mid-argument. There, near the center of the marketplace, stood an alien woman. Her skin was pale gold, her eyes wide and black, with faint silver markings curling around her cheeks. In her arms, wrapped in a soft green cloth, was a baby, the source of the cry. The sound wasn't just noise, it seemed to move through the air like a ripple in water. Aaron could see nearby traders pressing their hands to their temples. A tall Azari stumbled against a stall wall, looking faint. Aaron's instincts kicked in. He wasn't on duty. His uniform jacket was tied around his waist. But 10 years as a peacekeeping soldier didn't fade just because you were on leave. Something was wrong. The alien woman's face was tight with panic. She was looking around, almost desperately, but no one stepped close. In fact, most people were backing away. The crowd opened in a slow, nervous circle, leaving her stranded in the middle. Aaron stepped forward. "Are you all right?" he called out. His voice was steady, but in his gut, a strange unease matched the pull of that cry. The woman's eyes found him instantly. Her lips moved, a word he didn't recognize, but her grip on the baby tightened. Aaron took another step closer, weaving between a pile of crates and a floating drone cart. The baby's cry rose higher, shaking with an almost electric quality. Aaron felt a faint buzz in his fingertips, like static in the air. He crouched slightly, keeping his movements calm. "I'm human," he said gently. "I can help." Somewhere in the crowd, someone muttered in a language Aaron didn't know. A few traders began packing up their goods. A Grovak miner dropped a handful of small gems and scurried away on its 4 legs. The alien woman finally spoke in Standard. Her voice was breathless. "Something is wrong. My child feels danger." Aaron blinked. "Feels danger?" She nodded quickly, glancing down at the baby. "Our children cry like this only when something is near, something that kills." The way she said it, not might kill but kills, made the small hairs on Aaron's neck rise. The air felt thicker now. The market noise was fading, replaced by the baby's rhythmic, almost pulsing cry. Aaron scanned the area. No visible threats, no weapons drawn, no sudden explosions, no sign of a fight. And yet, he noticed something subtle. The lights above, hundreds of soft glow panels, were flickering in a strange pattern. Not random, but like a heartbeat. The baby's cry matched that flicker. Aaron's gaze swept the floor. Barren Station's market was built on layered steel panels with hidden maintenance tunnels below. Every few meters, vents exhaled cool air. From the recyclers. But now the air wasn't constant. It was pulsing, in time with the cry. He moved closer, standing just a meter from the woman. "May I?" he asked, nodding toward the baby. He didn't mean to take the child, just to look closer. The woman hesitated, then shifted the bundle so Aaron could see. The baby was small, even for its species, with skin the same golden shade as its mother's, and eyes closed tight. Its mouth opened and closed with each cry, releasing that bone-deep sound. Aaron felt the vibration in his chest. It wasn't just sound. It was something else. Something that touched the nervous system, directly. The woman clutched the baby back to her chest. "We must leave. If my child is right—" She stopped, looking around again. Her gaze swept the ceiling, the walls, the floor, as if searching for something only she could sense. Aaron's military training told him 3 things. The situation was escalating. Nobody else was taking responsibility. That meant it was his job. He straightened. "All right," he said calmly. "We'll move. Stay close to me." They began walking toward the edge of the market, but the crowd wasn't helping. Some people stepped back quickly to avoid them. Others just stared, their expressions uneasy. Halfway across the hall, Aaron heard something new. A hum. Faint. Low. Coming from beneath the floor. At first, he thought it was the sound of the station's systems, generators, recyclers, the normal mechanical life of a place this size. But this wasn't normal. It had a pulse to it, and it matched the baby's cry exactly. Aaron stopped. His eyes scanned the floor plates. The hum was stronger here. The woman noticed, too. Her voice was trembling. "It is below us." Aaron crouched, pressing his palm flat against the steel floor. He felt it. A gentle vibration, steady, repeating, not natural. The baby's cry rose higher, sharper, almost urgent now. The woman rocked back slightly, holding her child tighter, whispering words Aaron didn't understand. He looked up at her. "This is no ordinary danger, is it?" She met his gaze. "No, this is old, older than the station. My people. We are born to feel it." The marketplace around them felt like a bubble now. The crowd had moved further away. The lights above kept flickering in that same rhythm. Somewhere in the distance, a siren began to wail, not the loud, panicked blast of an evacuation, but the slow, repeating tone of a station-wide technical disturbance warning. Aaron took a deep breath. "All right," he said. "We need to find the source, and I think your child might be the only one who can lead us to it." The woman hesitated, fear flickering in her dark eyes, but she nodded. Aaron straightened, scanning the hall again. "Stay behind me," he said, and took his first step toward the hum. The baby's cry followed him, weaving through the air like a signal. Somewhere beneath them, the hum answered. The hum beneath the floor didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger with every step Aaron took. The alien woman kept close behind him, her arms wrapped around the crying infant. She moved lightly, almost like she didn't want to make a sound. Herself. Aaron's mind was racing. He had been in dangerous situations before. Riots on frontier worlds, tense standoffs with smugglers, even a rescue mission inside a failing orbital station. But those dangers were visible. You could see the enemy, the fire, the collapse. This was different. The threat was invisible, but it was there. The marketplace ahead was beginning to thin. Traders were closing stalls faster now, locking away goods and folding canopies. A few station guards had appeared at the far end of the hall, but they weren't rushing in. Instead, they stood in a loose line, watching, and clearly reluctant to get closer. One of them, a tall insectoid wearing the silver and green armor of Valoran security, raised a claw and shouted in a rough accent, "You there! Step away from the woman and child." Aaron didn't break stride. "We're not the danger," he called back. "It's under the floor." The guard's antennae twitched. "Under the—" He glanced at another guard, then back at Aaron. "You have no authority here, human." Aaron ignored the last part. Authority or not, his gut told him stopping now was a bad idea. The woman spoke softly to him, her voice trembling. "They will not help us. They fear the cry." Aaron nodded once. "Then we find out what's causing it ourselves." They reached the far edge of the marketplace, where the smooth floor panels gave way to a maintenance corridor. The hum was clearer here, less muffled by the noise of the crowd. Aaron crouched beside a vent grate and pressed his ear close. Thrum, thrum, thrum. It wasn't random. It was timed, and it matched the baby's cries almost exactly. The woman looked around nervously. "It is close. Too close." Aaron studied her face. "You said your people's children only cry like this when they feel danger. How?" She swallowed hard. "We hear what others cannot. Our infants, they are born with it stronger. Before they learn words, they hear the old dangers. It is memory in the blood." Aaron frowned. "Memory in the blood?" She nodded. "Long ago, before we traveled stars, something hunted us. It made no sound, no smell. Only our young could feel it." Her voice lowered to almost a whisper. "It took whole villages, gone in one night." Aaron felt a cold shiver run down his spine. This wasn't just superstition. The fear in her voice was too real. He tapped the vent grate, testing its strength. "This leads to the maintenance tunnels?" "Yes," she said. Aaron stood. "Then that's where we go." Her eyes widened. "It is dangerous down there." Aaron gave a small, grim smile. "Everything worth finding usually is." They moved into the corridor. The market sounds faded behind them, replaced by the quiet hum of station machinery. The lighting here was dimmer, and the walls were lined with pipes, cables, and storage. Lockers for tools. Aaron spotted a side hatch labeled Maint 04 in station script. The control pad beside it glowed faintly. He tried the manual handle. Locked, he tapped the pad. "Hail, Lieutenant, Peacekeeper Corps," he said, speaking clearly for the station AI to record. "Requesting temporary access for emergency inspection." The pad hesitated, then flashed yellow. "Access denied." Aaron exhaled through his nose. "Figures." The woman shifted the baby in her arms, trying to soothe it. The cries were still sharp, but now there was a strange pattern in them, almost like the infant was trying to match the hum. Aaron's eyes narrowed. "Hold the baby near the pad." She hesitated, but did as he said. The cry rang out, echoing, faintly in the narrow corridor. The pad's glow flickered, then turned green. The hatch clicked open. Aaron raised an eyebrow. "Guess your kid just knows the right frequency." The woman's voice was almost a whisper. "It is not a guess. The danger, it wants to be found." The hatch swung open, revealing a steep metal ladder leading down. Cool air drifted up, carrying a faint smell. Not unpleasant, but strange. Metallic, with a hint of something sweet. Aaron went first, his boots ringing softly on the ladder rungs. The woman followed carefully, holding the baby tight. They descended into a narrow tunnel lined with thick cables and service pipes. The hum here was louder and layered. There was a deep, steady pulse, but underneath it was a second tone. Softer but constant. Aaron knelt, placing his hand against the tunnel wall. It was warm. The woman was looking down the tunnel, her black eyes wide. "It is there," she whispered, pointing into the shadows ahead. They began walking, their footsteps echoing. The tunnel curved slightly, the lighting dimming further until it was just a faint glow from strips along the floor. Aaron could see something ahead. A faint blue shimmer, like light reflecting on water. As they drew closer, The hum changed. The baby's cries slowed, becoming softer, almost curious. Aaron stopped just before the shimmer. It was a panel in the tunnel wall, but unlike the rest of the station's smooth metal, this one was older, with faint markings carved into it. He traced a hand over the surface. The carvings weren't in any language he knew, but they had a strange symmetry, almost like the shapes in sound wave patterns. The woman's voice trembled. "These are not Velarin markings. They are older than my people." Aaron stepped back, studying it. So whatever's behind here has been here longer than the station. The hum deepened suddenly, and the panel vibrated under his hand. Aaron felt a faint shift in the air, like the tunnel had inhaled. The baby gave a single, sharp cry. The panel responded. With a slow, grinding sound, it began to slide open. Cool mist poured out, carrying that same metallic sweet scent. Stronger now. The woman clutched her child and stepped back, but Aaron stayed in place, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the opening. A faint blue light flickered inside. Aaron leaned forward slightly, trying to see, and then he heard it, a sound that made his chest tighten. It was like the baby's cry, but lower, older, and impossibly deep. It wasn't a machine hum. It was a voice, and it was calling back. Aaron turned his head toward the woman. "This isn't just danger," he said quietly. "This is communication." Her eyes were wide. "No, this is hunting." The blue light pulsed once, in perfect time with the baby's next cry. Aaron felt the meaning deep in his bones, a message without words. It knew they were here. The blue light in the darkness pulsed again, slow, steady, waiting. Aaron stood at the edge of the opening, his body tense but his mind alert. He'd been in plenty of standoffs before, with armed pirates, with angry crowds, but never with something that felt ancient. The alien woman stayed 2 steps behind, clutching her baby tightly. The child's cries had softened into small whimpers, each one echoing faintly in the tunnel. The sound inside answered every time. Aaron took a cautious step forward, leaning into the mist that drifted from the opening. It wasn't thick enough to hide anything completely, but it swirled like it had a mind of its own, curling around his boots and drifting back toward the blue glow. "Stay here," he said over his shoulder. The woman's voice was sharp. "No, if you go, we go. My child is part of this." Aaron didn't argue, he understood. Whatever was going on, the baby was somehow connected. They stepped inside together. The tunnel beyond the sliding panel was different from the station's other maintenance routes. The walls weren't smooth steel, they were made of an older alloy, dark and slightly rough, with faint lines running in looping, almost organic shapes. The hum here was no longer muffled. It was clear, deep, and layered, like several tones weaving together. Aaron's earpiece, still linked to the station's civilian network, crackled faintly. A thin stream of data appeared on his wrist display. Lines of code flickered across it, but it wasn't any language he knew. The woman glanced at the display and shook her head. "Not numbers, not words, it is sound, written down." Aaron thought about that. "A recording?" She hesitated. "No, a key." The deeper they walked, the more the tunnel curved downward, as if leading into the station's hidden foundations. The blue glow ahead grew brighter, reflecting off the walls in ripples. The baby was quiet now, but not asleep. Its eyes, dark and bright, were open, staring ahead as if it knew exactly where they were going. Finally, they reached the end. The tunnel opened into a small chamber. In the center, hovering a meter above the floor, was the source of the light, a sphere. It wasn't large, maybe the size of a human head, but it floated without any visible support. Its surface shifted constantly, flowing like liquid metal, and lines of faint symbols appeared and vanished across it in time with the hum. Aaron stepped closer. The hum grew sharper, and his wrist display suddenly went blank. The woman's breath caught. I have seen this in old stories. The star seed. Aaron glanced back at her. What is it? She swallowed. A beacon, left behind by the first. Travelers. My people believed they were myths. Aaron circled the sphere slowly, his eyes scanning every detail. He could feel it in his bones. Not just sound, but vibration, as if the sphere was resonating with something deep in the structure of the station itself. The baby let out a single soft cry. The sphere responded instantly. Its surface rippled, and a beam of light shot out, striking the far wall. The metal shimmered, then transformed into an image. It was a star map. Aaron recognized some of the systems. The station's location was clearly marked, but the rest stretched far beyond. The local sectors. At the edge of the projection, one cluster was circled in bright gold. The woman's voice was barely a whisper. That is not on any chart. It is... She hesitated. It is my people's lost world. We thought it destroyed. Aaron stared at the coordinates. You're telling me this thing is giving us directions? She nodded slowly. Only when it hears the cry. Only when it knows a child of my people is near. The sphere's hum shifted again, and Aaron felt something strange. A pattern within the sound, not random, almost like a voice, but in pure tone instead of words. It was saying, follow. Aaron took a deep breath. All right, let's say we follow it. What happens when we get there? The woman shook her head. I do not know. No one has been there in generations. Aaron's instincts told him there was more to this, much more. He didn't believe in coincidence. A beacon buried beneath a busy station? A baby born with the exact frequency to unlock it? This had been waiting for someone. Before they could move, Aaron's wrist display lit up again. But this time, it wasn't the beacon's code. It was a message from station security. Unauthorized presence detected. Section sealed. The tunnel entrance behind them closed with a loud metallic thud. The woman gasped. They are locking us in. Aaron grimaced. No, they're trying to lock it in. A voice came through his earpiece, harsh, clipped, and unfamiliar. This is Commander Renvor, Velaran Security. Human, step away from the object. We will handle this, Aaron replied evenly. With respect, Commander. You've had that thing under your floor for who knows how long and didn't even know it was there. I think I'll keep an eye on it for now. There was a pause. Then, that is not your decision. The channel went silent. Aaron turned back to the sphere. The hum was growing stronger, almost impatient now. The baby shifted in its mother's arms, letting out a curious coo. The star map flickered, and then changed. The coordinates shifted slightly as if updating in real time. Aaron narrowed his eyes. It's not just showing us the way, it's talking to someone. The woman's grip tightened on her child. Who? Aaron stared at the map, watching as the golden circle brightened. Whoever's waiting at the other end. The sphere suddenly dimmed, the hum dropping to a low vibration. The projection vanished. For a moment, the chamber was silent except for the faint breathing of the three of them. Then, slowly, new symbols began appearing on the sphere's surface, sharper, brighter than before. Aaron didn't recognize them, but the woman's face paled. Those are not my people's markings. Those are a warning. Aaron straightened. Warning about what? She looked at him, her voice low. That we are not the only ones who heard the cry. The hum shifted again, not steady now, but urgent. The sphere glowed brighter, as if urging them to act quickly. Aaron understood the feeling all too well. We need to move. Whatever this thing is talking to, it's coming. And I don't think we want to meet it here. The woman nodded. Then we must leave the tunnels before they seal us in completely. Aaron looked toward the closed entrance, then back at the sphere. We can't take it with us? No, she said firmly. It is anchored. It will only move when the time comes. We must remember the coordinates. Aaron activated his wrist display and quickly recorded the star map from memory, marking the golden circle and its surrounding patterns. The sphere pulsed once, almost like approval. They turned toward the tunnel, but this time, the hum followed. Them. Aaron didn't know if it was his imagination, but it felt like the sphere was watching them go. They reached the closed hatch at the tunnel's entrance. Aaron ran his hand along the frame, searching for an override panel. The baby let out a short, sharp cry, and the hatch clicked open, just like before. They climbed quickly back into the maintenance corridor. The marketplace beyond was quiet now, almost empty. A few guards stood watch at the far end, their eyes fixed on Aaron and the woman as they emerged. Aaron kept moving, guiding her toward the public lifts. Behind them, deep in the tunnels, the hum faded, but didn't stop. Aaron knew they hadn't just found an old machine. They had woken something. The lift doors slid shut, sealing Aaron, the alien woman, and her baby away from the watchful eyes of Barren Station's security. For the first time since they'd left the tunnels, Aaron let out a slow breath. The woman was still clutching, her child tightly, her eyes darting between the door and the ceiling as if expecting someone to break in. The baby was silent now, but its small gaze remained fixed on Aaron, curious, almost knowing. The lift hummed softly as it rose to the station's upper residential levels. Aaron leaned against the wall, reviewing the recorded star map on his wrist display. The golden circle marking the lost world stood out against the darker backdrop of space, but it wasn't just the destination that caught his attention. The coordinates had shifted, not by much, just a fraction, but it meant the location was moving. That wasn't natural. You said your people thought this world was destroyed, Aaron said, glancing at the woman. What if it's not a planet at all? What if it's something traveling? Her grip on the child tightened. If it moves, then it hides. And if it hides... She trailed off, her voice almost a whisper. Then it fears. Aaron studied her. Fears what? Before she could answer, the lift slowed to a stop. The doors opened onto a quiet residential corridor lined with smooth walls and curved doorways. Soft light glowed from the ceiling, and the air smelled faintly of clean metal and recycled oxygen. Aaron led the way to his rented quarters. Inside, the small living space was simple. A couch, a table, a few chairs, and a wall-mounted console. He gestured for her to sit while he locked the door. The woman settled carefully, keeping the child in her lap. The baby was calm now, occasionally, making soft, cooing sounds. Aaron pulled up a three-dimensional projection of the star map on the console. The golden circle rotated slowly, the faint trails of nearby systems surrounding it. This is what it showed us, Aaron said. And this, he tapped the map, is where it moved. The woman leaned closer, studying the glowing lines. It is far, she said quietly. Weeks of travel even with fast engines. Aaron nodded. I've done longer runs, but the real question is, why us? She looked at him sharply. I mean, Aaron continued, this thing's been buried under the station for who knows how long. It didn't call to anyone else. But the second your baby cried, he gestured toward the map. It woke up. The woman hesitated, then said, My child is rare, born away from our home world, away from the songs of our people. The cry is pure, untouched. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Pure? She nodded. Our children's voices change as they grow. The frequency fades, But my child's voice still holds the old tone, the same one our ancestors carried. Aaron leaned back, thinking. So that beacon wasn't just looking for your people. It was looking for someone untouched by time. The room was quiet for a moment, except for the faint hum of the station. Then Aaron said, "If we go after this, whatever it is, we might find your people's lost world. Or something worse." The woman met his gaze. "If we do not go, the signal will call to others. And not all will come to help." Aaron thought back to the warning symbols on the sphere. We are not the only ones who heard the cry. He made up his mind. All right, we go. He accessed the station's travel network through the console. Civilian ships weren't cheap to hire, especially for long runs into unknown space. But Aaron had enough saved from years in the Peacekeeper Corps, and this felt worth the risk. A small courier vessel, fast, lightly crewed, was available for immediate hire. Aaron booked it for departure within the hour. The woman shifted uneasily. "You trust leaving so soon?" Aaron gave a short laugh. "The longer we wait, the more chance someone else gets there first." She nodded slowly. "Then we go." They moved quietly through the station, avoiding the main concourses, where security was likely to be watching. Aaron carried a simple travel bag with supplies, while the woman kept the baby close under a soft green wrap. At the docking bay, the courier ship awaited them, sleek, silver, and just large enough for 3 people and some cargo. The pilot, a middle-aged Zoran with wide-set eyes and a calm voice, greeted them without questions. "Destination?" the pilot asked. Aaron handed over the coordinates. "Straight there, no detours." The pilot scanned the data, then raised an eyebrow. "That's far beyond any mapped trade lane." Aaron's expression was steady. "That's fine." Within minutes, the ship detached from the station and slipped into the dark between stars. Aaron stood near the front viewport, watching Valoran Station shrink into the distance. The hum of its systems faded from memory, replaced by the softer vibration of the courier's engines. The woman joined him, the baby now sleeping peacefully. "You've traveled far before?" she asked. Aaron nodded. "But never with a map that moves." Days passed in the quiet of space. The pilot kept mostly to themselves, focusing on navigation. Aaron and the woman spent hours studying the star map, watching as the golden circle shifted slightly each day. The movement wasn't random, it followed a clear path, as if the destination was traveling toward a fixed point in space. On the 4th day, something strange happened. The baby woke suddenly and gave a single cry, not loud, but sharp. The console at the navigation desk flickered. A second map appeared, overlaying the first. This one showed a different set of coordinates, much closer than the original target. Aaron frowned. That wasn't in the beacon's original projection. The woman's eyes widened. "It is a signal. Someone, or something, is answering." The pilot glanced back. "We following it?" Aaron looked at the woman. She shook her head slowly. It could be a trap. The old hunters knew how to mimic the cry. Aaron thought for a moment. "We stick to the original path. If someone's trying to trick us, they'll have to follow us into open space." The next days were quieter, but the tension didn't fade. Sometimes when the baby stirred in its sleep, the ship's systems would pick up faint background frequencies, too weak to trace, but eerily similar to the beacon's tone. On the 10th day, the golden circle on the map slowed. The shifting stopped entirely. Aaron stood over the console. "Looks like our target's holding position." The woman's voice was soft. "It waits for us." By the 12th day, the courier was nearing the edge of mapped space. The stars here were fewer, the blackness deeper. The baby grew restless, crying more often, though not with the same sharp fear from before. Each cry seemed to stir faint echoes in the ship's hull, like whispers passing through metal. Finally, on the 14th day, the pilot pointed ahead. "We're here." At first, Aaron saw nothing. Just a faint dust cloud lit by a distant sun. Then, as they drew closer, shapes emerged, a cluster of massive structures floating in formation. They were old, their surfaces weathered, but lights still glimmered faintly along their edges. The woman's breath caught. Not a planet, a station, a great city of the stars. Aaron's chest tightened. A lifeboat. The baby stopped, crying entirely. Its eyes were wide, fixed on the view ahead. Aaron felt it too. A pull, not physical, but deep in the mind. They had found the source. Or maybe it had found them. The stars stretched out like endless glitter on black silk. Aaron sat in the cockpit of the small civilian courier ship, his eyes fixed on the navigation screen. Beside him, Lyra held her baby close, her silver eyes filled with both hope and fear. The child slept peacefully now, its tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm. It was hard to believe this same baby had set everything in motion. They had been traveling for days. No escort, no big military ships, just the two of them, and the ship's old AI guiding them toward the strange coordinates revealed by the transmitter in the marketplace. Aaron sipped from a mug of lukewarm tea. "Almost there," he said softly. Lyra nodded but didn't speak. Her hands tightened around the blanket wrapped around her child. Aaron could tell she was afraid to hope too much. The coordinates led them into a part of space that wasn't on. Normal star charts. The scanners showed nothing, no stations, no planets, no signs of life. Just an empty cloud of dust and debris. "Are you sure about this?" Aaron asked gently. Lyra's voice was quiet. "My people, we never forget our stars. I know these skies. This was once home." Aaron leaned forward, studying the view. There was nothing but a drifting wall of asteroid fragments, almost like a barrier. The ship's AI beeped a warning, AI. Approaching debris field. Navigation hazard detected. Aaron smirked. "Hazard, huh? I've flown through worse." They eased into the asteroid cloud, weaving between slow-spinning rocks and shards of frozen metal. Then, without warning, the baby stirred. Its eyes opened, bright and alert, and it made a soft sound. Not a cry, not distress, but something like a curious hum. Lyra gasped. "He's sensing something." Aaron followed her gaze, and then he saw it. A faint glimmer behind the dust. It wasn't a star. It was too steady, too perfect. He adjusted the ship's course and pushed through the last of the debris. The glimmer grew larger until it became a shape, a massive ancient station hidden in the shadows. Its surface was worn, its outer plating, coated in layers of asteroid dust, but it was still intact. Aaron whistled under his breath. "Well, guess we found your mystery." They approached slowly. As they drew near, a faint light flickered along the station's hull, almost like it was waking up after a long sleep. Lyra's hands trembled. This is a lifeboat city." Aaron tilted his head. "Lifeboat city?" She nodded quickly. "When my world fell to disaster, some fled in ships like this. Massive space arcs, each one holding thousands of our people. We thought all were lost." Before Aaron could respond, a voice crackled through the comm, faint but clear. "Unknown." Voice, identify yourself. Aaron leaned toward the mic. "Lieutenant Aaron Hale, Terran Defense Corps. I'm here with Lyra of, sorry, you'll have to give me your homeworld's name." Lyra spoke firmly into the comm. "I am Lyra of El-Shari. I carry a child of my people." There was a long silence. Then the voice returned, trembling. "Bring them in. Docking port 7. The welcome. The docking process was slow, the station's old systems grinding and groaning to life. When the airlock finally opened, a rush of warm, oxygen-rich air filled the corridor. Aaron blinked. It smelled faintly of flowers and rain, an odd contrast to the cold metal of space. A small group of aliens stood waiting. They were like Lyra, tall and graceful, their skin in shades of silver and pale blue, their clothing simple, but carefully kept. An older man stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Child, you are El-Shari." His eyes moved to the baby and his breath caught. By the stars, an El-Shari infant. Lyra bowed her head, tears in her eyes. "I bring hope." The man reached out, touching the baby's cheek gently. "Do you know what you've done? We sent hundreds of signals into the void. Only the cry of a child, the true voice of El-Shari, could unlock the beacon." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "You mean that transmitter in the marketplace?" The old man nodded. "It was part of a network, a chain of messages sent across systems. Most have been destroyed or forgotten. But one remained, waiting for the right key. That key was your child's voice." Lyra held her baby close. Then it was fate. Aaron stayed quiet, just watching. He could see the way the survivors looked at the child, like it was more than just a baby. It was a sign. Stories of survival, they were led into the station's main hall, a massive open space with tall ceilings and glowing panels overhead. It wasn't fancy, most of the technology was centuries old, but it was warm, alive. Families walked by, curious to see the newcomers. Over a shared meal, the leaders told their story. The station had been drifting here for nearly 200 years, cloaked in the asteroid field for protection. Supplies had been managed carefully. New generations had been born, but numbers were small. They had almost given up hope of returning to the wider galaxy. Aaron listened in silence. He'd seen war zones, seen refugees, but this was different. These people hadn't just survived. They had built a life in hiding. When they finished, the old man looked at Aaron. "You are human. And yet you came here." "Why?" Aaron shrugged. "I heard a baby cry. Sometimes. That's all the reason you need." There was a ripple of soft laughter in the hall, a decision to make. That night, Aaron stood by one of the station's wide windows, looking out at the asteroid field. Lyra joined him, the baby asleep in her arms. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. Aaron shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. You could have walked away in the marketplace." "Most did. But you stepped forward." Aaron smiled faintly. "That's the thing about humans. We don't like ignoring a cry for help. Doesn't matter where it comes from." She looked down at her child. "He will grow up knowing your name." Aaron glanced at her, then back at the stars. "Make sure he grows up knowing his own people's strength. You've all survived something incredible." The farewell in the days that followed, messages were sent to nearby sectors. Quietly, carefully, the El-Shari began planning to rejoin the galaxy. Aaron helped repair some of the old systems and showed the station's engineers a few Terran tricks for efficiency, but soon it was time for him to leave. The El-Shari leaders offered him a place among them, but he declined. His duty was elsewhere. On the docking bay, Lyra stood holding her child. The baby reached out a small hand toward Aaron. He took it gently, smiling. "You take care of him," Aaron said. "I will," Lyra replied. "And one day, I hope we meet again." He stepped into the ship and looked back one last time. The station's docking doors closed slowly, and soon the asteroid field swallowed it from view. Epilogue, weeks later, back on a Terran station, Aaron walked through a crowded corridor. He passed hundreds of faces, human, alien, young, old, each with their own lives and stories. But sometimes, late at night, He would remember the baby's cry in that market, the hidden transmitter, and the quiet city among the stars.